All right, it being 4 o'clock thereabouts on September 7th, our second day of school at the high school and middle schools. Let's call this Gardner Elementary School Building Committee meeting to order. Dr. Hammond, would you mind calling the roll?
I do have to log off.
Dr. Hammond, you're on mute.
Thank you. Mark Hawk,
Present.
Mike Nicholson,
This morning I was like, happy birthday.
Mark Pellegrino,
Present.
Wayne Anderson,
Present.
Earl Martin,
Present.
Kathy Gogan,
Present.
Joyce West. Joyce West. Jennifer Playton,
Present.
Bob Schwartz,
Present.
Ron Cormier,
Present.
Christina Thomas,
Present.
Ashley Chickwin,
Present.
Robert Hankinson,
Present.
Heidi Generous, Josh Cormier,
Present.
Brenda Smith, you are present. Alan Minkus, are you present? Tim Alex,
I'm here, Steve.
Kristen Winsett,
Here, thanks, Steve.
Steve Landry, you identify yourself, please.
Steve Landers with the Gardner News, Steve.
Okay, I just want to make sure I got it down. And Mr. Mayor, you are present.
Yes, sorry, my computer froze.
And Steve Rockwood, I see you're on present.
Excellent. So we clearly have a quorum. Thank you all for coming. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of June 15th, 2022?
So moved.
Second.
Excellent. Thank you. Do I hear any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion on the motion, can we put the matter to a roll call vote? Dr. Hammond?
Mark Hawk,
Yes.
Mike Nicholson,
Yes.
Mark Pellegrino,
Yes.
Wayne Anderson,
Yes.
Earl Martin. Earl, is he present?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay. Kathy Gogan,
Yes.
Joyce West, I don't see she's come online yet. Jennifer Plavin,
Yes.
Robert Schwartz,
Yes.
Ron Cormier,
Yes.
Christina Thomas,
Yes.
Ashley Chickwin,
Yes.
Robert Hankinson,
Yes.
Heidi Generous, if you're not, she joined yet. And Josh Cormier.
Yes.
It's a vote, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Hammond. Moving on to item number 3, approval of bills and orders.
Mr. Chairman, we have just 3 allied testing for $500, SHI International for $328, and pre-AV systems for $10,107. Those are all the ones we have now that have been approved. There will be more of those coming in our next meetings. Would recommend that those 3 be approved for payment.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, let's put the matter to a roll call vote. Dr. Hammond?
Mark Hawk,
Yes.
Mike Nicholson,
Yes.
Mark Pellegrino,
Yes.
Earl Martin,
Yes.
Catherine Gogan,
Yes.
Joyce West is absent, Jennifer Plavin,
Yes.
Bob Schwartz,
Yes.
Ron Cormier,
Yes.
Christina Thomas,
Yes.
Ashley Chickwin,
Yes.
Robert Hankinson,
Yes.
Heidi Generous, I don't believe has come on yet, and Josh Cormier.
Yes.
It's a vote, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. Thank you. We have a report from the OPM.
Thanks, Mark. Matt, I don't know if you have anything to display for tonight. But I think most of you have been in the building recently. We're excited that they're finally coming to a close and finishing up a lot of stuff. There's still a number of activities still to be done and that they're working through and getting final approvals. We had our meeting this morning with Bacon, and just some of the things that they talked about that's going to just complete this week is just on the outside. Some additional sidewalks were being placed. There's going to be some sod laid down for the playground area out behind the A wing. Some finishing up some of the hardware and glass where there's temporary glass in the doors. So that's going to be those are going to be glazed and that's going to be finished up. Some of the inspections that are going to be done are going to be the state elevator inspector, the health department, the fire department and building departments. So a lot of activity going on from the construction side and trying to make sure that we get all the signatures and approvals that we need prior to the first day of school. Ideally we would have had some of this stuff done prior to now, that the contractor would have been a little bit further along, but all in all, constructing this building during a pandemic, we're pleased with the way the building looks, but we understand there's still work to be done. So we appreciate the patience that the staff has as they enter the building and understand that it's still a little bit of a work in progress. Any questions about where things stand or where construction items or anything on that end?
Yeah, just, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to ask probably the same thing you were, Mark. Is there any fear of the elevator inspection Friday at 4 o'clock of anything failing?
There's always a fear, but I'm not aware of anything specific that would hold that up. They've been doing testing. It's kind of tied in with the fire alarm inspection, so that when the fire alarm goes off, the elevator drops down to the first floor, the doors open, those types of things. There was a rated ceiling that needed to be installed in the elevator machine room, and during our meeting today, the contractor indicated that that was going to be completed today. So certainly something could come up. It is the 11th hour that they're having that inspection done, but there's nothing that I'm aware of that would hold that up.
Yeah, it's the 11th hour and 59 minutes. What happens if it fails on Friday? Is somebody able to come in on the weekend? Like, what happens if it does fail on Friday?
Well, I guess it depends on what the issue is. But if it fails on Friday, the contractor was told us that they were having conversations with the elevator installer to have operators running the elevator. So it does operate. It's just if there's issues that the inspector has that he wouldn't give a full sign off. Those were our conversations at today's meeting.
Right. Well, our TCO will probably be contingent on that, though. So if we don't actually have that certified, can we still open school on Monday? Is really what the question is. If we have somebody operating, can we open the school under those conditions?
That's what we were told this morning. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, my other question is just how are we doing on the list from JWA, who's obviously going to be doing this? Christian, I don't know if you or any of your folks have been through, like how are we on the progress on the JWA list for the TCO?
I'd say they're certainly making progress. I mean, it's been a back and forth over the past few weeks. We went through with our consultants, I want to say maybe 3 weeks ago, and gave an initial list that we passed by both the contractor and the city building inspector. With the observed construction, it's a little bit of a share of responsibilities between the architect and the building inspector. So it's an interesting dance. We want to make sure that he's on the same page that we are, and that we're kind of speaking with a similar voice and have similar priorities. So we walked through with Roland a couple weeks ago. We walked through again last week. It was great to see that many of the items had been addressed. There are still some more to do. Henry from our office and Katie were there yesterday. Aviva and I are going tomorrow. We will be there with Roland tomorrow. So from our perspective, there were some railings that are not finished and cannot be delivered in time. So we wanted to make sure that something temporary was constructed that doesn't just meet construction standards, but will meet occupancy standards. So, rails that are 4 inches apart, or a solid, half height wall, whatever Bacon chooses to do. Bacon's well aware of all of those requirements and they're working on it. But I would say, 60% of our list is done, and the rest are not huge items, but certainly some items that need to be addressed with the end of this week.
How's the fire alarm?
Matt might be able to say more than we can, but there was testing going on yesterday.
Was testing all day today. As far as the status, I have no idea if they found any issues or if they left the time they left, because everything will look good and they're ready. A lot of horns and strobes going all day long, on and off.
Okay, and they didn't give you a status. Did they give anybody a status update?
They may have given Bacon one. We'd have to check with them.
The fire department plans to be there tomorrow from 7 to 3 for fire alarm testing. So I'm assuming everything's a go.
I hope so. Okay. Any other questions or things that we're not thinking of?
One thing we did talk about is there's going to be a need for training of staff on all the various systems. And we talked about doing a very abridged cheat sheets, if you will, for things like the phone system or anything else. Understanding that full training will be coming online soon, but that it's just the systems weren't in early enough to have that training ahead of time. So we're going to be working with Wayne on getting his crew up to speed on what they need to know, and then kind of train the trainer, so to speak. So getting certain people trained who can then disseminate that information to the rest of the staff.
Yep. I never realized we'd need a training on turning on the lights. But after walking through the building, I understand and I appreciate that. But the fact that we can turn them on and off simply is the most important thing. So I appreciated those comments in one of your reports. Excellent. Any other questions or comments or concerns?
The only other comment I have is Board of Health came through yesterday, just for a preliminary walkthrough, nothing official. Really didn't find anything that we didn't know about. They'll be back on Friday at 10 o'clock for their final inspection, so we could start serving hot meals on Monday. We had our first, I believe, produce delivery, food delivery today. Paper products are coming in. The kitchen is, the past 2 days is being deep cleaned. The coolers and freezers, they're down to temperature. So we're moving on.
Excellent. Thanks, Wayne.
Mark, I don't know if this is the forum, but I know there's been some emails regarding the A-wing parking lot, and that is the staging area. I don't know if Tim, you saw any of those emails, or
I did.
And I don't know, I haven't checked my emails in a bit, but if there's any alternative plans for potentially staging at a different spot.
We asked for kind of the contractor to provide us really with what kind of space are they going to need to complete, where are we going to need temporary fencing, where are we going to have access points, egress points for fire alarms, that sorts of stuff. So at today's meeting, they provided a schematic that we distributed this afternoon. My understanding was that they had discussed that with representatives of the school. So if that didn't take place, I apologize, but we just got that today and sent that out. So please, if you have comments on it, or the A-wing we'll call it that west of area is a must-have for parking, we'll let the contractor know that they're going to need to stage somewhere else. Number one, it's a transition from a construction site to a school, and the first priority has to be operating as a school, and construction will take us a back seat. So really, we need your comments back on that, or if you have any additional questions, we can do that offline or at a different time, but certainly we'll get that those comments over to the contractor.
Yeah, no, I mean, the only comment I really have is my hope that we have that space. You know, the numbers just don't add up for us to be able to have parking for the staff, the visitors, the construction workers, the preschool drop-off folks, if that lot isn't available. It's going to be tight even with the lot. So
Yeah, so for the most part, construction workers won't be there during the day. But understood, you still need that spot, and if they have materials, they'll have to put materials on other areas outside of the parking. So we'll let them know that they can't have that spot, and they'll have to get it prepped. It won't be final paved, but they can certainly temporary stripe the binder that's there and get that ready to go.
that would be great.
I'll, before you do anything, move forward on that. I know how many spaces we have. I got the employee list, so, and we have 162 spaces. And I know the contractors can park in the field at the high school, middle school. So, I mean, there is a plan. I don't think, I can't see them giving up that staging space because they're basically backed into a corner trying to get those back playgrounds done.
Well, we'll have to talk with them about it and see what is possible. I'm sure that maybe they can store their materials over on those back playground areas until they get to a point where they have less material, and maybe we can find a secondary place for them.
Hey, two quick thoughts. One is maybe they don't need all of that parking lot. If they can free up some spaces over there, that would be good. And the second spot is, I don't know if Earl, you know, how many of those spots over in front of the C building are we going to be using for the pickup and drop off?
Yeah, it's tough to, I could get an exact number on the number of preschoolers, but it's just tough to gauge because it's a fluid situation in terms of them coming in, parking, dropping off. So it's just, I mean, I just know currently constituted as 162 spots. We have 175 or so staff. That in and of itself just is problematic. And then never mind the extra people who will be visiting. So it doesn't account for the preschool.
Yeah, we missed those last few words you said there, Earl.
Oh, no, I just said, there's 162 spots currently. There's 175 or so staff. There's, so that in and of itself is problematic, taking the construction workers out of the equation. And then you couple that with, even if there's a few preschool parent drop-offs, there just isn't space. And then visitors. So it's just, right now it's untenable. There are 30 spots in that A wing. I think someone mentioned to me, honestly, anything less than 20 is really pushing it. Because again, that would push us to, 182 spots. And again, we have 175 roughly staff. I don't envision a lot calling out that first week. So I just, I'm happy to orchestrate a carpool setup, but I don't know how many would buy into that. So, yeah. So Tim, I mean, in playground stuff being, I mean, that seems lower priority in some respects.
No, I agree, Earl. Any other comments that you guys have, once you've had a chance to take a look at it and digest it a little bit, we can pass those on to the contractor, but I'll send out an email this afternoon letting them know that that you need the parking area to the west of the A wing.
And if it's already 175 staff, even with the A-wing parking lot, we don't have enough parking at the end of the day. So it's a much bigger issue than where do we put these people? I mean, Earl says he has 175 staff. I probably have, I'm assuming you're not counting any of the custodial kitchen staff or support staff like that in any of your calculations.
No, you're right. In terms of, you're right, cafeteria staff.
So I think for the time being, we're going to need, because we're talking about, and I think it may have to just become a permanent, it may become permanent until we can resolve this thing, is one way in from Pearl, everybody exits out Catherine, and the two lanes that run along the multi-use path, one of those lanes becomes parking and the cars are facing towards Catherine Street. And I think
Yeah, that would help. That would help too. We thought about that too. Yeah, so we were thinking about that anyway, even without the parking, but that would definitely give us some spots.
Earl, this might be something we sit down with Maroney and Lawrence and discuss, because it might, I'm not sure I completely understand, but it might fly in the face with some of the ideas you had earlier today or yesterday about the pickup and drop off too. So we might want to talk about it sooner rather than later.
Wayne.
Yeah, I've had conversations with Officer Maroney, at least on the pickup drop off. That's kind of that's unchangeable at this point. It's going out to staff or to families. So
I know John Lawrence is on board with having Pearl Street one way for pickups and drop-offs, but it might make sense just from a traffic standpoint to have Pearl Street one way all the time. And well, everybody goes out Catherine Street is looking like that's going to be the permanent solution.
yeah, I mean, the DPW is making some temporary signs that basically say it's one way between 7:30 and 9:30 a.m. and one way. After a while, that's permanent, then we can always have but that's going to be the temporary setup. For those of you not familiar with what I'm talking about, I'd like to show this wonderful depiction of the school here. So Wayne's talking about, I can't even see myself here. I feel like Tom Brady, Greg Brady, or no, who's the dad Brady presenting to his architectural firm on the Brady Bunch here. But yeah, that basically Wayne is referring to this area right here as extra parking.
I wonder if we can get a couple signs that just say staff parking only.
Down here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're gonna have a sandwich board sign here that says "Do not enter" between those hours, and then a sandwich board sign down here saying "Do not enter." And then, if someone can still come up this access road, they would just have to veer into the parking lot here. Is kind of how it would have to work.
Okay.
So, but anyway, and here is the lot that we're hoping to make use of. Courtesy of Officer Maroney, by the way, this lovely drone footage picture. I owe him a coffee.
And just so we're clear, that is not a pool on top of the school.
It's a natatorium, not a pool.
All right. Thank you guys for that. Any other questions or concerns? Speak now or forever hold your peace, because we're opening on Monday.
Can I just quickly, and again, while and I apologize if this is too small of an issue, but Christian, there's some furniture issues, and again, I know there's a lot of coordinators involved, but one thing that's speaking of kids showing up next week, the projectors in the rooms. Is there a time frame on when they'll all, even if they're temporary, able to be installed?
So the temporary projectors, because we couldn't get the ones that we ordered in time, should be going in this week. So they should continue to go in tomorrow and Friday or also hopefully, if not every classroom, the vast majority should have those temporary projectors installed. And then it will, last we heard was, a November, December timeframe for the interactive projectors to finally come in, and they'll swap those out after hours.
Great. And so I've asked staff to fill out a Google form survey to indicate what items they still feel they should have based on the master list that Matt sent over to me.
Yep.
I'm going to kind of send those responses. My plan was to send them to Matt and Wayne this afternoon before I leave. Do we want to, there are some items though that seem to be things that I recall ordered, or things that teachers recall who might have even been part of the furniture committee that just weren't either on the list, or certain things that aren't there. Is that something you want to be cued in on too, or?
Yeah, for sure. So Steph, our furniture consultant, has been there yesterday for doing punch list. They'll be there again tomorrow doing more punch list. So that's both figuring out what furniture was delivered and damaged, what pieces are missing, and etc. So yes, there will be some of that, juggling, unfortunately, over this initial time frame. But then a larger question will be, what's being requested by the staff, and then as a building committee, you all can decide whether we want to provide some of those items that were not included in the initial budget, or what the next step should be for those types of requests.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, because I know there's a decision that comes in terms of, do we order more? Do we try to requisition certain things temporarily from the old schools, things of that nature?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Earl. And I don't know if people really care one way or the other, but there has been a lot of furniture coming in from the other schools. It's basically looks like trash with all the new stuff that we have in there. And I would request that I be taking off any of the furniture discussions. I have way more than enough to do. So
the only reason why I was going to include you, Wayne, was for that requisition factor if we need to. But what I can do is not include you, and then when the dust is like an essential item, then maybe specifically request that. Does that work better?
I mean, we'll move anything we need to move, but I don't have any more bandwidth for furniture.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, no, that's good to know. So I'll just include Matt and Christian. Like I said, I was just going to include you in terms of reallocating from other buildings perspective, but I'll individually reach out to you, or something if it's an essential item that a teacher just can't do without.
Thank you.
Yeah, Earl, this is something we go through with every project until you start living in the building a little bit.
Yeah,
Things that
okay.
you don't think of. So it's good to be able to, if there's emergency things that you have to get, then we can order stuff, or we can work through Christian's consultant to do that. But
Okay.
it's good to get kind of a master list together,
Yeah.
kind of prioritize what you think you need, and so give it a little bit of time, and then we can try and order it all at once and get a economy of scale when we order.
Perfect. I appreciate it. Last comment, I appreciate everyone's hard work. I know it's a really hard coordinated effort. Wayne, I know, has been burning the midnight oil. I know Matt's been logging about steps a day, and I know Tim and you all and Christian have been responding to my emails. I appreciate it.
Sure.
What about returning stuff? I know that's an ugly question, but I did get hit with the mats for all the pre-K rooms. It seems like we have way too many mats We brought all the mats from the other building too, which weren't that old. But that's something we could table.
Well, certainly it was something we can bring up with Stafora, to see what our options are. A lot of times you can return things, sometimes you can't, or if you do, there's a restocking fee, or, it becomes, is it worth it to return it for what you're getting back? But certainly we can develop that list too, and maybe some of that stuff can be exchanged for things that we didn't order that you feel you need now.
Wayne, which mats are you referring to for the pre-K? Those big red ones?
I believe there's 16 mats, floor mats for each pre-K classroom, if I'm not mistaken.
16 for each or one for each?
Yeah, and then we brought all the ones from Waterford, but I guess there's not that many sleepers, so.
I don't think we've gotten any mats yet for the pre-K. I just know of the ones that are in the gym, the big red ones that we just put in there today.
That they're just going by the order list that was given. So if they weren't ordered, even better.
Okay.
All right, and phones are entirely working now in the building, correct?
They are. A question, I don't know, and again, I apologize if I'm getting too minuscule here or narrow with the scope, but the intercom system, is that, I guess they're not tied into the phones. Is that part of the AV setup, or?
I think that training is going to happen on Friday, Earl.
Okay, thank you.
For the PA system. We'll get you all jacked up so you can do your, really excited about your first morning.
I got a whole song, Wayne. I got to have clear sound,
Yeah.
I did, Wayne, sorry, Earl, I did see the electrician as he was going around today. He came into the office that I'd been hanging out in, and he just picked up the receiver, hit a number, and made an announcement through the system. So I think it does work that way. It's just a matter of knowing what to do.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, okay, great. I have a whole bunch of raps I like to do to get the staff, really jazzed up. Like, my name is Earl. Listen to this rhyme. I'm about to unfurl on you. No, sorry about that. A little punchy here.
All right, moving along. Anything else? Any other questions before Earl breaks into song again?
What, one more verse?
Move on.
Second verse, same as the first. All right, next. Report from the architects. Anything else you want to add, Christian? Oh, changing this.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have quite a long PCO list to go through, which I will maybe try and go through very quickly. But with everything going on at the site, with how vacations lined up in August, many of these items, either the school building committee or the finance committee has seen before, but we'd like to add on to that. We'd never, we approved those, so Bacon has of course been moving forward with all of that work, but we haven't formalized change order number 19, and so that would be nice to be able to do after tonight. Let me share screen here, folks. And I think Dr. Hemmond sent out a PDF earlier today, and so that, and we tried to include some pictures or some drawings where we could to help explain the different situations. And there's just one more that we've added at the very bottom that was a late breaker today. So 29 is the largest item on the list. It's a siding change at the C wing. We were originally going to have brick above stair 5. The roof was installed to the point where the brick would unfortunately have to have sat on top of the roof. And so rather than pull the roof back, which would have possibly allowed water into the building, which is, something we could have done earlier in the process, but now that all the finishes are in, nobody wanted to go that direction. And so we have directed Bacon to move forward with providing the Oco skin, which is that glass fiber reinforced concrete siding to go above stair 5, which is the more prudent way to go forward. I'm just going to quickly run through these, and then if there are questions, I'm happy to go back or interrupt me as I go along. 210 is still one that we're discussing with Bacon. We've talked about this numerous times. I just thought I'd keep it on the list. No action needed at this time. Acoustic ceiling tile at exposed steel columns. A small ad for trim to go around that steel column. There will be a gap left there, but both Bacon and their mechanical contractor and Hesner, our mechanical engineers, have looked at it, and that will just act as part of the return system. So where I've got hatched out, those will of course get filled with ceiling tiles, and then we're trimming out around the columns. 278, again, no action needed. That's the poured in place playground surface that's still in discussion. 279.1 is additional floor prep needed for, the contractor owns a certain amount of floor prep. This crack was a little bit larger than what they would, typically own in the contract. And so an additional cost for that floor prep. 301, again, this is one of the ones that have already been reviewed and approved, I think, by the finance subcommittee. But just including it on the list, this is to cut outriggers where the soffit is going to come across. Same here with 306. We have one round column in the building. That's because it's a continuation of the trees, quote unquote, in the media center. And so we had to fur out around that. 308, again, already approved. And this is to modify some structural steel where the lightning rod needs to go up through the soffit, through the roof, to poke out above the building. 311.1, again, already approved to remove a sprinkler head from one of the rooms in the C wing that was not needed because it's going to be a rated room. 312 was approved at 2,149, has since been reduced to 1,466, and that's just for a piece of trim to go over the top of this wall that can be seen here in the C wing. 313, again, already improved for closure on the masonry cavity. 315 is the thresholds at the exterior doors. And so the contractor is going to supply standard thresholds for the opening because they're thermally broken. The extra long ones that should cover this concrete block that you see here in this picture take longer to deliver and are on material delays. And so they will install those later after the school's been occupied. 319 is closing a chase that was already improved. 320 is for the hiring of temporary elevator operators for the month of July. That was so that the furniture installers could start moving into the building. And the operators were needed since the elevator was not permitted yet. 322 is for a small ceiling change at the 3rd floor of the B wing. The flanges from the HVAC ductwork were too low and creating some ceiling conflicts. 323 is to put acoustic ceiling tile in the records room. It's because the district is going to be utilizing existing rated filing cabinets. And so I did not need to have a rated ceiling in that room. 326, 327 were already approved. 328 is a $0 change. I don't know why Bacon needed to include that, but they did. So we will officially approve it so that we can cross it off the list. 329 and 330, again, already approved. 331 is the connecting corridors between both the A wing and the B wing, and then between the B wing and the C wing. It's a complicated area because some of the utilities that are going between the wings need to be above a rated ceiling. And then the utilities that are servicing those connecting corridors need to be below that rated ceiling. So there were some modifications that needed to be made in the field, including a fire rated expansion joint, because we have an expansion joint between the connector, both of those connectors, and the B wing. So those are both kind of structurally separate. 333 was some changes and adjustments to toilet accessories that included accessories that were supposed to be semi-recessed. 335 was a Grandmaster padlock at the roof ladder. This is a roof ladder that's can be accessed from the storage room off of the art room in the 3rd floor of the A wing. And the fire department requested that the padlock that's on that roof ladder guard be connected to the Grandmaster keying system. 336 was another request from the fire department that there be an emergency shutoff for both the mechanical room and for the kiln, accessible from the hallway, which seemed like a reasonable request. 338, similarly, a request from the fire department for additional fire extinguisher signage. These are the triangular signs that go on the wall above the fire extinguisher, so that it can be seen from any direction. 339 was another request for additional fire stopping at the top of the elevator shaft. 340 for the door holder location adjustments. These are automatic door hold opens. Some of them required longer door opens, and so there was some concern from the district about those getting damaged in the future. So we changed the door holder locations instead. Modification of some light fixtures in the corridors. Again, this was kind of final coordination in the field, and required some additional drivers for those light fixtures. 344 was a condensate drain for an air conditioning unit, one in the connecting corridor and one in the elevator machine room. And as Tim mentioned, that ceiling of the elevator machine room had to be changed, and so some of that was that drainage rework. 345 is asphalt leveling, and that you'd kind of expect to see on the site coordination. This was additional asphalt needed to feather out a curve. The binder course has already been paved, so we can't really raise grade at this point. We need to make up for it in asphalt. The numbers are still being finalized. We're asking that to be approved at a not to exceed. The C-wing entry ceiling material, again, this is a request for an approval at a not to exceed. This is the kind of, it's an outdoor location as you walk into the C-wing. A metal soffit material is what's recommended and what the contractor also felt more comfortable installing. And so numbers are still being finalized for that. Sprinklers in the connectors. This is a change from a flex connection, which is what they were anticipating, to a hard piped connection, just because they did not have enough room for a flexible hose to kind of come up and into the sprinkler head and that location. Oh, and this one, I failed to change that. This is a 351 is the one that just came in today. So that's a change from the PDF that Dr. Hemmond sent out earlier. This is for an additional auto operator at the front of the building for the material only. We're recommending approval at a not to exceed, and we just got this, and there's some disagreement on whether this was included in the drawings or not, but just asking for an approval not to exceed. So again, we can kind of keep moving a lot of these items forward. So this is lumping a lot of PCOs together again, some from what have previously been approved, and then a lot that have come in kind of the last stages of the building. Some requested from the district, some kind of your typical change order situations, and then quite a few requests from the building department and fire department. But so a total of change order 19, including all of the not to exceeds above, would be a total of 199,629.
Hey, Christian,
Sir,
349.
yes,
Is it not to exceed? Because it's still flex pipe.
currently.
It is, yeah, because I mean, I know there's some other work related to it, but we cut the ceiling open ourselves. I know I probably shouldn't say that, but we cut the ceiling open and made the flex pipe work
Okay,
while
Great.
we're on the weekend. Thank you.
great, thank you.
Does that change the number?
No,
Not for this evening, but hopefully for the final paperwork, Steve.
Any questions for Christian? Okay, hearing no questions or concerns. We're moving on to old business.
Mr. Chairman, we do need a vote on that.
Oh, on the change orders, of course. Thank you, Dr. Hammond. I appreciate that.
Need a motion for 199,629, please.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, let's go matter to, oh, did somebody have a discussion point? No? Okay. Let's put the matter to roll call vote. Dr. Hammond?
Mark Hawk,
Yes.
Mark Pellegrino,
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson.
Yes.
Let's see, Mark Pellegrino, yes. Mark Wayne Anderson,
Yes,
Earl Martin,
Yes.
Kathy Gogan. Kathy,
Yes.
yeah, thank you. Joyce West,
Yes.
Jennifer Plavin,
Yes.
Bob Schwartz,
Yes.
Ron Cormier,
yes,
Christina Thomas,
Yes.
Ashley Chickwin.
She had to leave. She left a note in the chat.
Okay. Let's see, Robert Hankinson,
Yes.
Heidi Generous, she's absent, and Josh Cormier.
Yes.
Did I miss anybody? It's a vote, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. Thank you. The ayes have it. Motion passes. All right. Moving on to old business and new business. Is there any old or new business or other business to come before the school committee? Building committee, excuse me. Any public comment? Mr. Rockwood, do you have anything to say?
No, I have nothing. It's been a pleasure to see this going on. And I'm glad we've gotten to the point where we're ready to get it open. Thank you.
I have one thing.
Yes.
Perhaps it would be possible if if Dr. Hammond could send out an email with the results of the inspections tomorrow, so that we're not caught unawares as we were with the extension of the deadline for the opening of school.
Mhm.
It was a little bit awkward for members of the committee and perhaps others to have to find out about these things in the paper. So I think it'd be nice if we give us a heads up on where we are. And hopefully it'll be a positive report. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Cormier.
Yeah, I would go for that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, they caught us all unawares, and yeah, the communication wasn't perfect, so I appreciate that. Any other comments? Okay, our next meeting is October 19th, 2022. No need for executive session. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
So moved.
Second.
You, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. So ends the meeting for Gardner Elementary School before we open on Monday. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good luck.
bye.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.